Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. 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 The Liberation Mantra. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Opening up to the teacher in its many forms. Good morning. My name is Jeremy, and this is the first broadcast of my yoga lifestyle channel on YouTube. I felt it was important to start before the sun came up. But as it's been told, that this is a very auspicious time of day, very powerful time to meditate, to do our spiritual practices. Favorite mantras here. If you have the Jivamukti chant book, it's on page 5. It's number 17. My children and wife are sleeping at the moment since it's so early. So I'm not playing harmonium like I usually would. But I think a cappella is also equally as powerful. Here's a special mantra I learned at Ananda Ashram in upstate New York, and then continued to study at Brahmananda Ashram here in San Francisco. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvanvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tad Vamasyadi Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachamalam Sarvadi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Gagana Sadvisham. We're going to chew it over. Okay. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvanvatitam Gagana Sadvisham Tattvamasyadi Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachamalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami Sadguru Tam Namami. Om. The translation: salutations to that inner guru, the inner guiding light, which is never-ending bliss, the giver of supreme happiness, one without a second pulsation of consciousness, beyond dualism, beyond subject and object, which is like the blue sky, and is indicated by such statements as, "Thou art that, and I and my Father are one," and which is the final aim of life, one eternal, pure, without pollution, every time with you, the witness of all wisdom, beyond all states of being, and beyond the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. I bow to that inner guru. That's an interpretation by Sri Brahmananda Saraswati of Ananda and Brahmananda Ashram. Just about a week ago, the Yoga Center was getting ready to close down. Tomorrow, which is Saturday, would be my last class at Nandi Yoga in San Mateo. Due to businesses being shuttered because you couldn't have more than 10 people gathering in a space. We were going to try to do a class on Tuesday before this happened and stream it live from Nandi, but then the order came in from the city. You know, a home practice is so powerful. To be able to get up in your own place, in your space, close your eyes, and tap into your inner resources, I found to be so powerful. And it doesn't matter what's going on outside in your life, in the world. It has nothing to do with your inner practices. So sit, meditate, get up a little bit earlier. Right? We call this tapas, doing things that are difficult, pushing ourselves a little bit so that we reach a little bit further inside. In addition to this, all the yoga practices are at our feet to use. Karma yoga, being of service to others, very powerful right now. Jnana yoga, studying the scriptures and books of wisdom to help expand our understanding of what we already know. Bhakti, devotional practices, always a good call. Singing the name of God or something that's uplifting for you to help open your heart. Of course, Raja Yoga is the kingly path, and we follow all of these different disciplines. Hatha Yoga, of course, using our physical body as a vehicle to the spiritual experience. It's important to feel healthy and strong in these times. It's important to take care of our bodies as well as our minds. So instead of thinking about doing it, just get up and do it. You know, my teachers Sharon Gannon and David Life always inspire me, continually inspire me. All I have to do is reach out for them, because I know that they're reaching back to me. I thought I would start for the beginning of this series of talks on yoga. I would read from my teacher's book, Sharon Gannon, The Magic 10 and Beyond. So I'm just going to start with the introduction, if I can see it in this candlelight. We will try. Introduction to the way. Yoga is a Sanskrit word that means to yoke or reconnect, and it refers to both the practice and the goal of the practice. The goal of yoga is yoga, in remembering one's connection to the Supreme Source, eternal happiness itself. That makes me happy, hearing those words. Yoga teaches us that within each living being there is an eternal soul, the Atman. The practices enable us to reconnect to the Atman and to understand that our mortal bodies are dwelling places for our mortal soul. The practice's alchemy transforms our perception of who we are. The body of the enlightened yogi houses the light of truth. The yogi lives in the world as an instrument for that truth, or this truth. There are many yoga practices that can guide a person along the way to that magical remembering of who he or she really is. Some of those practices are explored in this book. There are accounts in the various yoga scriptures and holy books from India that describe the path or way of yoga. We can read about the lives of great yogis from ancient times and get a glimpse into their world and into how they walked their paths. In this book, I share some of the practices that have helped me along the way. I also share some of my ideas regarding the history of yoga and my speculations. I also share some of my ideas regarding the history of yoga and my speculations regarding its possible connection with ancient Egypt. I love India and I have great respect for the spiritual wisdom of her culture. And yet I can't deny that I am attracted to the mysteries of ancient Egypt and feel that yoga may be more universal than is usually thought and could have been shared by both cultures. 10 years ago, this intuition led me to visit Egypt. While in the Great Pyramid, lying in the king's chamber, I had an out-of-body experience. A day later, the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, I was painting a figure that looked as if she were doing an asana. And I met Egyptiologists who showed me the magic circle called a cartouche, containing 10 hieroglyphs that looked to me like they could be describing yoga practices. Remarkably, the 10 practices I did every morning. This is why every chapter begins with an image of an Egyptian hieroglyph followed by a poetic account as to how the meaning of the hieroglyph might translate into yoga practice described. The practices that make up the 10-week course will certainly stand alone, but if you want to delve deeper and learn more about the hieroglyphs as well as a backstory, a story found on page 67 will tell of my yoga adventure in Egypt and its connection to the sadhana shared in this book, and it's a lovely story that we will get to. The Sanskrit word sadhana means conscious spiritual practice. What distinguishes a yoga practice from a physical fitness exercise routine is intention. When you engage in the activity with a conscious intention for it to bring you closer to enlightenment, to the realization of the oneness of being, then it is sadhana. Sadhana is never something that you do yourself for yourself. It is always about getting over yourself. You separate ego self and awakening to how you are part of a higher divine self. Without the essential ingredient bhakti, which means devotion or love for God, sadhana will not yield anything interesting or magical, but instead will keep one ego-centered and bound in mundane reality and the pursuit of temporary happiness through material accumulation. With yoga centers in just about every city, town, and village, and in the world today, a person has many opportunities to take the yoga classes and to study with qualified teachers. I am not advocating for rejecting the yoga studio model, but we should nonetheless remember that yoga is about reconnecting to God, which is ultimately a solitary journey inward. As yogis, we should develop independence, dependence inward. The journey within is the journey towards lasting happiness. To be able to go to a class with others is great, and it has many benefits. But sometimes, whether because of schedule demands, or financial limitations, or this era we find ourselves in right now, attending a yoga class may not be possible. That shouldn't mean that you can't practice yoga. You should have something easy and doable that you can access anytime, so that you are not depending on going to class to practice yoga. And yoga can become a way of everyday life. Traditionally, yogis learned under the tutelage of a teacher, but that continued their practice privately on their own. I love going to yoga classes, but it is often not practical for me to do so. I practice on my own every day. My practice starts in the morning when I wake up, while I am still lying in bed, and as I remember to be grateful. What I reveal in this book is how my practice continues to unfold from there, how my personal sadhana, which I have done over years in the privacy of my home or hotel room or wherever I happen to be, provides me with the way that launches me into the day and hopefully helps me be better, kinder, calmer, more spiritual person. And that's my goal right now, is to be a better, kinder, calmer, more spiritual person. Others are looking to us right now to see how we should act. I want to be that example. The Magic 10 and Beyond in my way of sharing that sadhana. The 10 practices are presented as a 10-week course, providing the beginner as well as the seasoned yogi with how-to formula for a home practice. They can be done together as a standalone practice or as a warm-up, as a preparation for longer, more complete asana practice. There are practices for how to wake up in a good mood every morning and for how to become more saintly, practices that reveal the secrets of wealth and abundance and that will increase your vital energy by teaching you how to conserve and direct your prana or life force. They are practices that will help you resolve old relationship issues by detoxifying your body and purging your thoughts of negative emotions, and that will keep you limber and fit well into old age. There is an easy step-by-step meditation practice as well, as a way to free yourself from the fear of death and live at ease comfortably in your own skin for the rest of your life. Amen, Sharon. So I hope that was helpful for you. And this is the first ever podcast, I guess we'd call it, of this series that I'm going to start teaching. So I'm taking her advice. Just because we have shuttered the studio doors, it doesn't mean that I can't share my continued practice with you. I hope this helps, and God bless you. And we'll finish with Om and Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. And we finish with a prayer. Om Bolo Sadguru Bhagavan Ki Jai. I give thanks and praise to all my teachers, especially the inner guiding teacher, the Sadguru. Namaste.